Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Glad to see we all made it through the Christmas blizzard. Quite something. I know it was tough for David Jones in North Carolina. It was a rough time. Oh, actually, he started saying New Orleans. Living the dream, but it's okay. Somebody's got to. We'll live vicariously through you, David. I'd like to start off this meeting. Touch the flag. I want to make sure I get that in there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I hear we have an inspirator, Beth Banks. You could inspire us. Get us going.
Thank you, Gerald. I notice we only have 2 speakers today, so my inspiration might be a little long for some, but I really like this little story. A philosophy professor once stood up before his class with a large empty mayonnaise jar. He filled the jar to the top with large rocks and asked his students if the jar was full. His students all agreed the jar was full. He then added small pebbles to the jar and gave the jar a bit of a shake so the pebbles could disperse themselves among the larger rocks. Then he asked again, "Is the jar full now?" Students agreed that the jar was now full. The professor then poured sand into the jar to fill up all the remaining empty space. The students agreed again that the jar was full. In this story, the jar represents your life, and the rocks, pebbles, and sand are the things that fill up your life. The rocks represent the most important projects and things you have going on, such as spending time with your family and maintaining proper health. This means that if the pebbles and the sand were lost, the jar would still be full and your life would still have meaning. The pebbles represent the things in your life that matter, but that you could live without. The pebbles are certainly things that give your life meaning, such as your job, house, hobbies, and friendships, but they are not critical for you to have a meaningful life. These things often come and go and are not permanent or essential to your overall well-being. Finally, the sand represents the remaining filler things in your life and material possessions. This could be small things, such as watching television, browsing through your favorite social media site, or running errands. These things don't mean much to your life as a whole and are likely only done to waste time or get small tasks accomplished. The moral is, if you start with putting sand into the jar, you will not have room for rocks or pebbles. This holds true with the things you let into your life. If you spend all your time on the small and insignificant things, you will run out of room for the things that are actually important. So, my suggestion, pay attention to the rocks because they are critical to your long-term well-being. We have certainly seen that this week with what happened with Damar Hamlin. So I would ask all of you to persevere and make sure you spend time on the rocks. Fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you, Beth. In that regard, I did want to take a few seconds here, possibly to take a moment of reflective prayer for Damar and his family. If we could just take a few seconds of silence here. Thank you. In regards to announcements, I'd like to start off with some of those. I know we have a few. I don't know if Eric wants to do his with his Toastmaster introduction here. He does, okay. I know in regards to the schedule, Len is working on that, so I would just mention that. If you have not sent in your time off to make it easier for us scheduling and the Toastmasters in the future, that would be awesome. So he's working on that. We do have a contest next week, which Eric will talk a little about, and possibly Katie if she's on. I would like please welcome our Toastmaster, Eric Schneider.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Before I get into the theme of the meeting, we do have a club contest next Thursday. And please make sure you get in touch with Kate as to see if you want to sign up for roles or speaking. It's International and Tall Tales next week. So please get in touch with Katie in regards to that. So who we have in the room today? I'm going to read off real quick who's in the room. Got Nancy Rose, Len, Steve, Jill, Mark, Sylvia, Mike, Dave, and Jackie, and Gerald, and myself. And online we have Kate, David Jones, Phil, Carol Ann, Margot, Beth, Mark, Mike, and Jen. So good morning, Happy New Year all. Hope everybody enjoyed the New Year's. Either if you guys went downtown or stayed at home, watched Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve, or watching, I saw Miley Cyrus and Dolly Parton doing a Rockin' Eve on NBC. I know, it's like, all right, but we would watch that, but no, we did not. We just watched, because I love Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve. I'm glad they're keeping Dick Clark's name in the Rockin' Eve. And that's, I consider that's a big legacy. Now, I would like to get into our job holders this morning, and when I call the job roles, I would like to ask them what their New Year's resolution is. And I'll bring in mine at the end of the job holder. So I would like to invite up Mike Licata, who is our word master. Mike, what is our word today?
Mr. Toastmaster, good morning, fellow Toastmasters. This morning I put it in the chat. It's on the board already. We perseverance or persevere. The persistence in doing something despite difficult or delay in achieving success. Just so you know too, perseverance is the noun and persevere is the verb form of the word. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
What's your New Year's resolution, Mike?
New Year's resolution is to just keep enjoying watching less TV and watch less streaming services.
Thank you, Mike. Our on-master grammarian, who I want to say thank you for signing up, is Mark Campos on Zoom. Mark, please describe your job role today and what is your New Year's resolution? Mark Campos.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning. My job as master and grammarian is to listen for all the filler words, the ahs, the ums, the so's. Let's try to cut them out today. And wearing my grammarian hat, I will be listening for excellent use or, unfortunately, abuse of the English language. As far as resolutions, I hate to be that guy, but I really don't have one, Eric. I guess if you push me into a corner, I'll say probably just to eat a little healthier, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mark. So on Zoom, we have our quote master, Mike Florio. Mike.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, good morning. I guess I fall into the category that Mark falls into, that I don't really have any New Year's resolutions. I never really make them. I guess if I were to have one, it would be a healthier lifestyle, continue to eat well, and spend more time with my family, which COVID's kind of allowed me to do that now that I work from home. So those are kind of the two things. My quote or quotes today are from Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn is a motivational speaker that I like to listen to. He's passed away, but I still think that a lot of what he talks about are relevant even today. And I have a bunch of quotes. There are a bunch of quotes that I have from him, and I just grabbed a few. First one, take advantage of every opportunity to practice your communication skills so that when the important occasions arise, you will have the gift, the style, the sharpness, the clarity, and the emotions to affect other people. That's very appropriate.
Thank you very
Other
much.
one that we have, bear with me. I know, I got a couple.
I do? All right.
Days are expensive. When you spend a day, you have one less day to spend. So make sure you spend each one wisely. And lastly, learn how to be happy with what you have while you pursue what you want. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you for the quotes. Our jester is Marty Johnston. Marty, come on up.
Morning, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Happy New Year. I have two jests. This one comes from Fun People Jokes. What was the most common resolution for 2022? Anyone know? Not to follow through on resolutions for 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018. From Reader's Digest, well, why was the Hershey bar bummed on New Year's Eve? Why was it bummed? Why was it sad on New Year's Eve? The Hershey bar bummed on New Year's. It got stuck waiting for a midnight kiss. I hope you all persevere through the rest of the meeting while you soak that one in. And if I were to tell you what my New Year's resolution it would be to persevere with the weather during the blizzard. Actually, when the blizzard was being cleared up, I went cross-country skiing with a couple friends, and I should have given Dave and whoever else a call. And then it melted. So what did I do? I went roller skiing. I went roller skiing with my rollerblades and my cross-country. So you have to persevere in the Western New York weather. Back to you, Ed.
Thank you, Marty. Cross-country skiing. David, are you going to provide lessons?
If you can walk, you can cross-country ski, just get behind me on the trail and do what I do.
All right. You heard from Dave. All right. Our timer is on Zoom. David Jones. David, please explain your role today.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. And you should not be envious. The storm followed us down to Mexico on the cruise. It was very cold and windy. We had half a day in Cozumel. We went to Progreso. It was too rough to go to port. So we had an extra sea day, and it was so cold and rainy that everybody stayed inside, but we persevered and made the best of the cruise. As far as my goals go, I want to write a couple books. That's why I'm in a different room. My office and studio is back there. This is my master bedroom. So I put a new desk and new computer in here so I can concentrate on writing. You might notice in the background, some people like pictures on the wall. This is all my hiking and camping gear. Got my backpacks. I got 8 tents. I keep buying them, and all my gear is my art. That's what I like to do. Now, as for timer, we know the routine. We don't have any guests, I believe, but we've got green at 5 minutes for our speakers, 6 minutes yellow, and red at 7, and 30 seconds buffer on either side. And I'll be reporting when I'm called upon. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Our quiz master stepping up to the plate, Nancy Rose. Nancy.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good morning, Toastmasters, and Happy New Year. To start off, my New Year's resolution is to have some fun. 2022 brought me a lot of fun, unexpected fun. So I'm going to pencil in some fun time this year, which I really impressed my family, but it's going to be done. Anyway, my job holder role today is to quiz you on your active listening skills. So at the end, I will give you a quiz. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
And I cannot leave our general evaluator out. Our general evaluator who will evaluate me in the meeting is Len Thornton.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. We're off to a great start today, despite my late arrival here and the lack of a pre-designated agenda. Thank you for all the roll holders for stepping up, and I will report at the end of the meeting. Eric.
Before we persevere into table topics, we will have one speaker today. Jen, you are off the hook unless anybody would like to pick up a hip pocket speech. Anybody on Zoom or anybody in the room? I will open the floor. Mark, would you like to do a speech today? All right, Jen. Mark's going to be speaking today, and we'll figure out what your job will be for your speech today. So thank you so much, Mark, for stepping up. All right, let's persevere into table topics, and our table topics master today is Sylvia Baptiste. Sylvia, come on up. Oh, don't trip now. All right. Yep.
For New Year's resolution in 2022, I am going to be more patient, Dave Licata. You said, how could I be any more patient than I am? Not at all. Not at all. It's in my blood. I'm sorry. We laugh about it because I jump to conclusions without listening to the whole story. So that's what I'm going to do this year. Listen to the whole story. So table topics, I will be asking three people. Eric? That's all I need?
Yeah, if you want to speak to like about
3 or 4 people. The little, 2 questions. One question will be for 2 people and another question will be for another 2 people. And please don't forget to use the word of the day, perseverance. In 2022, Queen Elizabeth died. The invasion of Ukraine. U.S. Supreme Court overturns abortion rights. And how could you not remember the disturbing quadruple murders in Idaho? Also in 2022, world population exceeds 8 billion people. And that happened on November 15th. Tracy, since you came in late, could you tell us something, a big story that happened to you personally, or you remember about happening in 2022? Tracy Farrell.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, or Table Topics Master. I have to tell you, one of my goals in 2023 will be to be more timely. That way you won't catch me up here doing table topics. However, I do enjoy this opportunity. 2022 was a big year for me. When I started at the city, one of my major goals was to make assessments more equitable. It was a 3-year process, culminated in 2022. A lot of people weren't happy, but actually we were able to get through that process. Some people really were happy. They actually called and said, thank you. I feel like it's more equitable. So there's 2 sides of that coin. I've also convinced the council to continue on with this process because they believe that being more equitable with our assessments is fair to everybody. And in the past, it had always benefited the higher income people, those Willow Street, Pine Street, Locust Street. Those houses were always underassessed, where we have the other end of town that we're a bit overassessed. As we go on, we're going to persevere with this project. We're going to be a lot more equitable. There were some problems with our program last year, so we're going to tweak it as we continue on year after year after year. It can only get better the more we tweak it. And I got a green light. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Tracy. Phil Russell, I see you on Zoom. Could you tell us a personal story that was big in your 2022 life, or would you like to talk about what happened in 2022? Bill Russell.
I think about it and remove it. Well, I'm focusing on the positive. I don't listen to that stupid news. There's no good news on the news. It's usually misinformation to begin with. Mark Twain and I get along on that issue all the time. I want to stay informed. That's important. But I don't want to have any misinformation. I like good information. So I focus on the positive. My biggest event this year was that stupid detached retina. It knocked me out for 3.5 months, 4 months, close to it, September to December. And just getting back on my feet, and I'm focusing on the positive because I've heard of so many people that had it worse. And so I persevered, and make sure you do everything correctly. Listening to the doctor, doing what the doctor says. Chris, my wife, being a nurse, she persevered with my nonsense and made me do everything as I was told. I learned that years ago from my mother because being a nurse as well. And you do as you're told or you won't have a good result. Did have a good result. And that's a great thing. And that's the most important thing. And this focusing on the positive is not just for me, it's a Toastmasters pathways. I found that, and through doing that, I'll be giving a longer speech on this, maybe next week, maybe later, on depending on how my schedule goes, because focusing on the positive brings about a lot of interesting things going on. I'll give those to you. It's a great challenge. You have to at least go for 2 weeks. Today is my 4th week. That is pretty cool. And focusing on the positive is so important today. It's like what Tracy said. She had a goal in mind. She achieved that goal. And that's the other part. I found another old speech that I didn't finish. And that was on planning and goal setting. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Phil. Fred Rogers once said, when I was a boy, I would see scary things in the news. My mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. We have had many stories like that this year, I think, especially in Western New York. So I'm going to ask Jill, could you tell us a memorable event in 2022 that people band together and helped each other? Jill.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master, for stumping me. But I will persevere through this and come up with something. As far as what do people come together with, most recent example is the blizzard. Not so much in Wilson. We didn't get much snow. We had some blowing. The wind blew horribly hard. We had power outages. And of course, the fire company opened up their fire hall for people that did not have power and needed the warmth. So that was coming together. But there's a lot more examples of people coming together up in Buffalo and that whole suburban area up there, where people shoveled out others' driveways, snow blowed others' driveways. I don't think plowing others' driveways really worked in that weather. It needs shoveling or snow blowing. From personal experience, tractor works better than plowing. You get that sort of thing. And most people don't have tractors like I do, so. I didn't even have to plow out my dad's driveway or ours. And there was all the
people that let in other people into their houses that were traveling unknowingly, that the weather was going to be what it was. And it's rough on those people. But somehow, I think about the houses that they said they had 10 or 12 people show up to their house. I don't think Steve and I could actually feed 10 or 12 people. I don't know how we have a hard time feeding the two of us. So thank you.
Carol Ann, how are you? I'm going to ask you the same question. Could you tell us a memorable event from 2022 that people band together and helped each other? Carol?
Yes, I'll actually, from personal experience, as most of you know, I was diagnosed with lymphoma in 2022. And I realized how important family is. And I'm very fortunate. I have my husband and two of my three daughters actually still live at home. And my other one is close by. And they were very helpful and advocates for me through this all, because when you're hit with a diagnosis like that, you're really overwhelmed and you need other people. And I can also see how people come together at Roswell. It is a phenomenal team. You have a physician, but under them are many PAs and nurse practitioners who see you at your appointments, and they're very good at explaining things and answering all of your questions. And I did have to be hospitalized actually 4 times, and I met such wonderful nurses. They're just actually, I'm a retired nurse myself, and so I can kind of maybe judge how nurses perform. And at Roswell, they're all wonderful. So I am thankful that I'm starting a new year, and hopefully I can persevere and then have a healthier time in 2023.
Thank you, Carol.
Table topics.
Could we have a word report, Mike?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. Good morning. And once again, fellow Toastmasters, the word's doing really well this morning. Just for the sake of table topics, all 3 of our contestants used the word. Phil used it twice. Thank you very much.
And timer, David Jones. How did everybody do with time? I saw a lot of red.
Fortunately, everybody qualified. Tracy came in at 1:38, Phil at 2:15, Jill at 2:06, and Carol Ann at 2:29.
Hey. Eric. Would you like to take the lectern back? Thanks.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Let's give a hand for Sylvia, please, for table topics. Thank you, Sylvia. So please cast your votes, and Len will have the polls up on Zoom. Now, my New Year's resolution is to control on my mental health. which is very important. And I'm going to do more poetry readings down the road because I think poetry readings are a relaxing coping mechanism. Even though since our world is suffering some very tough times, I would like to continue doing more poetry readings to help us keep us at ease and hoping for a better 2022, or I'm sorry, 2023. So please raise your glasses as we say welcome 2023, and let's continue to be healthy and happy, and let's persevere through the tough times and good times. Thank you. You're here. Now we begin our speaking portion of the meeting. Our first speaker is Dr. Gerald Stevens, and he will be evaluated by our own Dave Licata. Dave, come on up and explain what Gerald will be speaking about today.
Them bones up, never mind. Good morning, everybody. It's my privilege to evaluate Dr. Stevens. I hope you have the title. Do you have his title? Go get his title, because on the sheet that he gave me, he wrote the title like a doctor. I can't read it, or it's incredibly some ancient alphabet he found on one of his many adventures. But he's going to go over some stuff. He's going to do it, and we know this is a given. It says well organized. The man is well organized. We all know that. And he's going to work in some humor and some information. And by God, my fellow Toastmasters, if you want something to stick, you want some information to stick, work in some humor by all means, because in the words of Dr. Smedley, we learn in moments of pleasure. And he's going to research, he's going to share his research, and he's going to present it to us. It is 5 to 7 minutes, and I hope someday to be able to read the title. Mr. Toastmaster.
Fellow Toastmasters, please help me welcome Dr. Gerald Stevens with his title, The Decision Chiropractor School. Dr. Gerald Stevens.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Keep hearing some hesitancy here. We're working out. Any luck? Okay, let's push it out. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, I tried to use the lavalier here. Dave Licata, please give me credit for that. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I'm happy to be talking to you all today. The decision. This is my continuing series of my never-ending years in college. The decision to go to chiropractic school. So back in the day, I was living in New Orleans. I talked about that in one of my former speeches. And I did some research. So I went to got my master's, went and did some research, estrogen receptor, skin cancer research. Wanted to contribute to the world, conquer the world, persevere to help people with cancer. I did that for about a year, but I found it very mundane. The day-to-day pipetting, not so much fun. Yes, I could have done my own research. That was an option. You could have went on to get a PhD, 4 to 6 years to do that, and then possibly a postdoc after that for 2 to 3 years. But then you got to live off grants. If you don't get a grant, you don't publish, you perish. That's what they say. I've had some publications and I've had some grants over the years. But that being said, I didn't want to rely on that. But I wanted to contribute to society, make a difference in the world. That's what I wanted to do. Well, how could I do that? I'm already working sort of in health area to help people there in regards to research. I thought, I look into becoming a medical doctor. I could do that, possibly. Apply to school. It's competitive, yes. Hard to get in, yes. Possible. Could have done it. And I thought, you get to some of these professions, maybe you're a surgeon or something like that, and they get sued a lot. So that happens more than I'd like to say. So you spend all those years in school, dedicated trying to help the world, and you get sued, and then you're financially screwed. So I didn't want that. So I said no. Also, I'm not big on medication. So I've always kind of lived life naturally. Don't even take an aspirin if I have a headache, anything like that. My wife gives me a hard time about that all the time. Take an aspirin, stop complaining. Like, I will not do that. I'm not gonna take anything. If I have to, I will. Like, if I got it, it'll work too, because my system's not polluted with any type of medication for the most part. So I said, okay, that kind of fits. Could have been a physical therapist. They don't prescribe medication. They do exercise. I like exercise. I like to run, like to go to the gym. Could have been a nutritionist. I like that too. Well, guess what? Chiropractic has all that. So I can do that. So I saw chiropractic going like, that's interesting. Don't prescribe medication, provide an alternative to opioids that could help people. That could be good. I can make nutritional recommendations. I can prescribe exercises. Win, win, win. And help people with their lives, relieve pain in a natural way. I was like, okay, this is good. So I looked into it. So I did some research, which is the point of my speech, Mr. Evaluator. So chiropractic, growing profession, 10% growth every year, 70,000 people in the country that are chiropractors. Median wage, 75 grand. So that's the median. So they've got people that have franchises that are chiropractors, people that just have one office. You could do chiropractic teaching. You have a gamut of stuff you can do with chiropractic. So it is chiropractic. Some of you might not even know what it is. So chiropractors, they work on the spine. And I brought a little model spine here. And before the meeting, and my assistant will hold the spine. Thank you, Marty, my impromptu assistant. I appreciate that. So the spine, it has communication for all parts of your body, nerves to go out. We adjust. An adjustment is just a quick impulse, possibly causes a popping sound, which releases pressure in the spine. Pressure in the spine also stimulates the nerves, helps with pain. Keeps things moving. That's the goal. So if you move it, don't move it, you lose it. It's kind of the idea, right? Thank you, Marty. Appreciate that. So yeah, you can just put it over the side. I just wanted to use a prop and talk about what I was kind of doing there with the spine. So we do that and help balance out the mechanics. Balance out the mechanics, just like in a car, when you drive a car, sometimes it wears on one side than another. Alignment is kind of people call it that. And that is true. Maybe your hamstrings are tighter on one side than another. Maybe your muscles in the front, called the iliopsoas, is tighter than one side than another. You're a little twisted. Back to front, balance it out from the ground to the top. So if you're doing that, you're likely to have less wear and tear and less issues over time. So that's what chiropractic in a nutshell kind of does. That being said, I found the profession, went to school, loved it. It's amazing when you adjust somebody and they have immediate relief. It doesn't happen all the time, mind you. Sometimes it takes a few goes. And in regards to the adjustments, it's not just the manual adjustment. They have low force adjustments too. So it's not always when people think it's just like, okay, they're just gonna pop the back. we have a lot of different options. Well, people don't know that. So if you have something that's a little more severe, you can still get help. So people just think you just do one thing. We do a lot of things, a lot of different techniques, include exercise, also soft tissue massage. I do that as well, mixed in. So if you do all those things, I think it's going to be a better overall treatment. So I went to the school, loved it. I remember I had adjustment. I had a patient who had a rib pain under their arm for 2 years, 2 years. And someone went to other chiropractors, treated it, and adjusted it one time, went away. You know, some people might call it a chiropractic miracle. I call it doing my job. So I just found the right thing and then adjusted it. So I'd like to think that I specialize in diagnosis. That's my wheelhouse. I like complicated cases. So the more complicated, the better for me, because we've been doing this over 20 years. You know, the run of the rigmarole is, okay, yeah, I got a little line of sprain strain. Yes, we can help you with that, but I get assuming it's super complicated. I'm like, gotta put my thinking cap on, become Sherlock Holmes. Love doing that kind of thing. And I do a lot of presentations on that, which is Toastmasters helped me with personal presentations. So once I became a chiropractor, had my private office, and then I learned there was a position at the chiropractic college. So, okay, well, now I can have a bigger impact on people. I could teach people. Not only can I help patients myself, I have this whole army of people that would go out there and help people. So that's a giant impact, in my opinion. So that's what I really loved about my profession and working at the school. It's hard to fit this whole thing in 5 to 7 minutes, fellow Toastmasters, but I really do enjoy making an impact on the world and helping people with pain and avoiding opioid addiction and taking medication. So I look forward to the future of just helping people more and more, and I look forward to the future of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald. And Gerald, stand by for a phone call. You may be receiving a phone call from me because I may need to come back to you. Our second speaker this morning is Mark Crane. Thank you, Mark, for stepping up and taking the speaker 2 role. And his evaluator will be done by Jen Zapla. Jen, can you explain what Mark will be speaking today?
Yes, thank you, Eric. Mark, as you said, has jumped in and decided to give a speech today. He's spoken to us several times in the past. He's really jumped in as a newer Toastmaster with us. And today he's going to be working on engaging his audience. I believe you do have his title as well. His time will be 5 to 7 minutes, and we're excited to see what Mark can bring to us today. We'll just give him a minute. All right.
And thank you very much. Fellow Toastmasters, please help me in welcoming Mark Crane with his speech title, Resolutions, A Brand New Year. Mark Crane.
Welcome. You are people out in Zoom land and the people that are here today attending. Basically in keeping with the theme today, and most of my life, and the word of the day, persevere, has been most of my life is perseverance. And I love the book by Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. Well, the road not taken, it never came up for me, because every time I got to the fork in the road, there was a barrier there, and I had to switch, and I had to move on. And even my son later on, after he finished his master's degree, which I think I read every paper he ever did in school, and he told me, "Dad, you could have never got a master's." I said, "Really?" I said, "Who helped you with all those papers? I proofread for you and helped you with all these years. For 7 years, I've helped you." And he said, "Well, it doesn't count. He did it on his own." And I said, "Really?" And
That was a heated debate one evening. And he's a wonderful kid, but for the most part, when we get to the end of the trail, we look at each other and we say, you know, I did this myself. I'm a bootstrapped person. And that's not necessarily true. We've got a lot of help along the way. And the number one thing about resolutions this year is we should look back and know ourselves. First of all, remember who you are and what you've been in the world. You know, if it's I normally don't wear a hat inside, but it's a bad hat day, hair day. And so I chose to wear my hat today. But I got my commission through ROTC Niagara. I was enlisted before. This is part of the ongoing Crane Chronicles that I want to share with you is as I progressed through schools, several, probably about 6 different institutions here in Western New York alone, I just persevered and moved on. And I had to, not because there was no place to go back to. You could only go forward. So I always took stock in myself and said, where do I go from here? Now that the other road has been blocked for me. And mainly each time it happened, even now, today, with our resolutions, we should make peace with ourselves here in the present. Know ourselves, know where we're going. Try not to slip back and think of the yesterdays. I've been accused of having one foot in the past and barely stumbling towards the future. We don't know what the future has for us. It's unknown, and that's the good thing about it. We have opportunities at our doorstep. We can go forward and make anything of the tomorrows, depending on what our motivations are. We can't get stuck in the past, and so embrace the present. And it's great that, you know, they coined the phrase, you know, the present is the present because it is a present to us. An opportunity to advance ourselves and also take stock in our families and friends who push us forward and make us strive to be better in the coming year. Treat each other as you wish you were to be treated. For the most part, I kind of stumbled into the career after being an Army engineer. My vocation is sheet metal. It's almost absurd to have someone who's 32 years old become an apprentice at anything. In Europe, they start out, they actually take children and they give them to a craftsman and they live with them. And one of the old Germans that I worked with at Harrison's, they turned around and he was given to a family when he was 6 years old. And he said, you start out by sweeping the shop and this and that. And if you can't do the basic chores, you're not there very long. So he lived with these people until he advanced. And he actually escaped from Germany at the end of World War II. And he's in his 90s now. And I got a chance to talk to them down in Newfane, Golden Agers as my Santa Claus. And that was pretty cool. Because he was 92 and I sang that song, which I'm not going to sing today, by the way, which I love to do, but the Christmas song. And I sang to him. It embarrassed him a little bit, but what a great guy. And the thing is that my vocation in sheet metal shaped my views in such a way and my insights. I work in a world of mechanical problems, and this helped me in raising my children. I prepare them for the day of days. We know what that is, the day I won't be there for my children. And I ask, how can I prepare them for that day? Like the metal I worked with in life that hammered me and shaped me has galvanized my thoughts. Like the sound of a hammer on an anvil, the following rings true for me. Produce good children, choose good, strong material for them to experience. guide them and shape their experiences. Prepare them for life's furnace. Temper their mettle so that life's successes will not destroy them. And when the metal can be drawn and shaped by life, it'll be beautiful and useful vessels for the world to use. And that was my view for them. And I've shared that with them as they've gotten older. And they go, Dad, where'd you get that from? I said, they came from the heart. While I was hammering on metal in a shop, I'm not a philosopher, but kind of lean that way after a while. So tell your story this year. Let people know who you are. Just be sure, don't get locked inside that story. Make it evolve. It can be something more and beautiful. And I thank you for letting me speak today. Thank you.
Could I have a timers report, please, David?
Yes, Mr. Toastmaster, both of our speakers qualified. Dr. Stevens came in at 7:25 and Mark came in at 7:16.
Thank you very much. Len and Nancy will have a poll up on Zoom, and Sylvia will be coming around with the ballot count. So thank you. All right. Our first evaluator this morning, David, are you ready? All right, he says, oh yeah. Please help me welcome the grandfather of Toastmasters. I'm going to call him the grandfather of Toastmasters. Godfather, okay. We're going with Godfather. What's his name? Oh, Dave. Dave Licata.
Eric, I never wanted this for you. I wanted you to be Senator Snyder. Sorry. All right. I've been in this club forever. I am one of the 2 remaining charter members. And I keep coming back because every time you come here, you learn something. And what I learned this morning is, and this should have been apparent to me years ago, said I want to salute the speaker because he very cleverly engaged the audience by explaining to us that he went down the wrong path. I said, wow, there isn't anybody in this room that hasn't gone down the wrong path. So that was genius because that roped us in and got our attention because everything is identification. When you laugh at a joke, you laugh harder if you can identify with it, if it happened to you, if the situation was so familiar. So identifying with the audience is a huge step. So that's what I really liked this morning. And there's a lesson, you know, that's our lesson, and we should retain it as we persevere through our Toastmaster careers. Dr. Stevens is an experienced speaker. I enjoy it every time he speaks. So it's hard for me to do the middle of the sandwich. But you stuck your thumb in your pocket. Did you know you did that? No. It was brief. It was brief, but I noticed it, Dr. Jerry. And from a theatrical point of view, once you switch to the hand mic, lose the lavalier. You look like we were going to send you to Mars or something. So that was a little bit distracting. And you had a nice prep there, but then again, because you lost your lavalier, you got tied up with the mic and that was tough. But the best part of the speech, what I loved, was he explained to us how rewarding this profession is. He reminded each and every one of us that that should be our goal as well. Because it goes back to that old bromide. Find something you like and you'll never work a day in your life. So you shared the joy with us. It was a nice liftoff for 2023. Thank you, Dr. Stevens. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dave. Our next evaluator evaluating Mark Crane on Zoom is Jen Zapla. Jen.
Thank you, Eric. Mark gave us a lovely speech today. He was talking a bit about New Year's resolutions. And although I think I lost some of his own resolutions, he did share a couple of really lovely stories with us. For example, at the beginning, he shared the story about how we all really need one another, and everything that we do in terms of our successes doesn't happen just because of our own actions, but all of the things that we do to support one another. And I thought that was a really lovely story to open with. He made a clear point there. He did have a couple of nervous gestures throughout. He's still doing some hand wringing, but I did notice he was trying not to clutch the lectern, which I know in the past has been a struggle for him. Mark, you do still have quite a lot of filler words that you use, some ums and ahs, so just be cognizant of that. And if you start to feel those come on, feel free to just take a pause and take a breath. In the middle of your speech, Mark, I did get a little bit lost. I know you had sort of made reference to a few things that I wasn't particularly familiar with, and I wasn't exactly sure about the point that you were trying to make. So I would just suggest knowing what your audience knows about you. We don't know everything that's happening inside of your head, so just make sure that you're making all of those connections or giving us enough information so that we can make those connections throughout your speech. And then at the end of your speech, you had a really wonderful, beautiful closing. I liked your metaphors in terms of your work doing metal and with the legacy that you want to leave your children. I know you read part of it, but you got up today and you gave us this speech. I'm not sure how much you prepared for it, but I wasn't aware you were going to be a speaker until today. So I thought you did an excellent job pulling it together. You had these really beautiful beginning, this really beautiful closing, and I think you had a lovely message in there for us as well. So thank you very much. And I will turn it back over to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jen. David, could I have a final timings report today on our evaluators?
Sir, Mr. Toastmaster, both our evaluators qualified. Dave came in at 2:43 and Jen at 2:07.
Thank you very much, David. So please cast your votes for David and Jen. And before I invite Len up to give his general evaluation report, I just want to say that I am going to go back out running. If anybody wants to join me, Gerald, no, and Steve's like, nope, not for me. But Steve, I'm looking forward to your star shows this year. We're looking forward to that. And we haven't heard from Jackie about what her New Year's resolution is. Jackie, would you like to come on up and so
Thank you, sir. You're welcome. I don't have any resolutions. I don't make New Year's resolutions. I stopped that a long time ago because it just becomes another way to beat yourself up. When, of course, you fail at your resolution, whatever it might be. So I like to kind of take it easy on myself. I think it's better for your mental health if you don't set the bar too high. Just continue trying to be a good person and do the best you can do at everything. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jackie. I would like to invite Margot. We haven't heard from Margot. Margot, Happy New Year. Margot, what is your New Year's resolutions, or do you have any?
There it is. Thank you. I was having trouble unmuting. I just want to get through this next year. There's a lot of things on my plate and I'm hoping to do it as best I can. So no real resolutions for this year, but thank you for asking.
No problem. Good to see you, Margot. All right, before I invite Len up for his general evaluation, I'd like to go over our job holders and give us their report. So we will start with our quiz master, Nancy Rose. Nancy, would you like to come on up?
Thank you very much for our quiz. I hope you're all ready. We are going to go with whose New Year's resolution is to eat a little healthier? Mark Campos. According to our quote master, what is very expensive? A day. Yes, yes. Who focuses on the positive and only listens to important news? Bill Russell. Who is a retired nurse and salutes those nurses at Roswell?
Caroline.
Who will practice good mental health with poetry? Eric. And who has the gift of relieving pain to stop opioid abuse?
Dr. Gerald.
Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, Mark Campos with our Master and Grammarian report. Mark, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning once again. Here's my report. This won't hurt a bit. It shouldn't take very long, no more than 15 minutes. So start the clock. Beth Banks, you had one so. We can all thank Edna Stubbs for tuning us into the so's. It's not my fault, fellow Toastmasters. Eric, our Toastmaster, you said call job holders. You meant call on the job holders. I liked coping mechanism. I like that term. You had a couple of so's and a couple of ahs. Mike Florio, one David Jones, 3 ahs. Nancy, 1 Sylvia, 2 ahs. Tracy, I liked words like culminated, equitable. You had a gonna though. Phil, you had a couple of restarts. Jill, 1 so. Carol Ann, you had more than 5 filler words. Gerald, you had a gotta. However, redemption came in the form of famously screwed, my favorite term of the day, and gamut. I like that word. You did have 2 ahs. Sneak that in there. Mark Crane, as previously mentioned by Jen, you did have more than 5 filler words. You mentioned that you read every paper he ever did. I'm sure you meant every paper he ever wrote. You did have a gonna. I did like words like chronicles, vocation, galvanized. David Licata, I did not note anything in particular other than I thought throughout your evaluation you had an abundance of wonderful wordsmithing, as per usual. But of course, Jen, you had 1 ah. I liked cognizant. You mentioned Mark doing metal, working with metal would have been clearer. And that's it. I promised you it wouldn't hurt. Mr.
Oh.
Toastmaster.
Mark, I might need to take a couple Tylenols just to get over that one, but anyway.
That's a good joke.
All right. And I would like to say the word master for last, but I wanted to invite up Len to give his general evaluation. Help me welcome Len Thornton.
Thank you very much, Eric. And once again, thank you for stepping in as Toastmaster this week before the first quarter schedule came out. Really appreciate when people step up to the plate as Toastmasters. Our 2 evaluators today, both used the sandwich approach very nicely, touching on all the key points. Mark, I like how you caught galvanized. I thought that was perfect when Mark said that right after talking about metal, and then the next sentence he said galvanized. I don't know if everybody caught that, but galvanizing is a treatment for metal that stops it from rusting. It's a coating, basically. Some of the things I noticed with Mark's speech, he had a decent opening. He had a really good closing, but what a lot of speakers do is they have a great closing, and I'm hearing that, and I'm saying, now stop, finish your speech. And then they kill that closing by stammering on with some trivial content that really doesn't add to the speech afterwards. If you have a great closing, stop there. And I felt like you added a little bit of wind down conversation after your closing. So keep a lookout for that. Jen caught the hand clutching and the filler words. Organization of a speech is really essential for a good speech. When I develop one, usually late at the night before I'm due to give it, I come up with the opening, the closing, and like 3 or 4 key points in the middle. No more. And I don't need to memorize the speech. When I see those key points, I know what I'm going to say, and I can be relatively succinct about them. But that's how I organize my speech. That way it doesn't jump around, from one point, one concept to another and back and forth, and it tends to lose the audience with that. So something to work on as you develop your speaking skills, Mark. Gerald, the headset problem, not your fault. I was late arriving and we didn't test that ahead of time. Sometimes the batteries go on that. A quick transition to the other microphone, you handled that well. I don't think you look like an alien or anything with the headset on. We're just not used to seeing it, Mr. Licata. But I wish more speakers would actually use the headset mic, especially if they have props and they need full use of both of their hands. So that was good. Great that you had a prop. Great that you took the time before the meeting to arrange an assistant to hold that for you. That worked out great. And you stayed within time because you have a problem with time occasionally, but you wrapped it up and teased us with part 2 of this speech coming soon. So that was very good. Now on to our Toastmaster. He made a very concentrated effort to fill what was essentially a blank slate for this meeting this week. And kudos to him for doing that. It takes more work when the schedule comes out late as this one is. And you did, and I chimed in with another appeal, but you sent out at least 3 agendas as they were, listing all the openings. And that's the spirit of Toastmasters, going above and beyond. When you know it, that you're the Toastmaster, make sure that everybody's been contacted or they've confirmed for that week so that the meeting flow is that much better. We had a full slate today. 2 speakers is not bad, 2 out of 3. And when that happens, table topics, we just extend to 4 or 5 contestants. Worked out great. We're doing well on time. Might even get out 5 minutes early, which is not a bad thing. So all in all, you did a fantastic job. Eric, I'll let you come up here and announce the winners and turn it over to our officer for closing.
Len, thank you very much. Mike Licata is our word master. Mike, how do we do with the word perseverance today?
Thank you again. Excuse me. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. The word did really well today, I thought. Eric used it 3 times. Beth used it once. Marty used it 3 times. David Jones used it once. Dr. Stevens used it once. Mark used it 3 times in his speech, and Dave Licata used it once as well. And that is my report this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mike. Before I announce the winners and invite Gerald up, is Kate on to explain more about next week's contest? If not, then please get in contact with Kate about next week's contest. My mind went for a minute there. Ugh. Okay, she's offline. All right. Let's invite up our president too, and we like to announce our winners today. Our best table topics winner today is Carol Ann Halstead. Congratulations to Carol. Our best evaluator is Jen Zapla. Congratulations, Jen. And our best speaker, the man standing right next to me, is Dr. Gerald Stevens. Congratulations, Gerald.
Thank you.
And please pick a winner.
Fickle finger of fate. Who will it be? The number is 345616. Steve Smith is the winner of half the pot there. So we will give him winnings today. Thank you all for coming. Contact, I'm sure, if Katie does not send around the agenda right away, I know she's been very busy, reach out to her. The contests that are going to happen are Tall Tales, just as a reminder, and also the international speaking contest, which can be motivational. So please sign up as a judge, a timer. She probably needs every role filled, I would guess. If you haven't already signed up, please help her out. So we can have basic contests and hopefully send someone on to the next level here.
Can you hear me?
Oh, Katie is on. Beautiful.
I'm on.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. We are set. If Mike Florio can still be a timer, we're set on a timer. We could use a backup, but on Zoom is best. We have all the roles filled, except that we could use one more judge. We could use multiple judges, but at least one more would be super helpful. Those are anonymous, so I'm not saying anybody out loud except for Jackie Kenny is our chief judge again. So reach me, or if you're in person, if Jackie is there, tell her you can be a judge. We have 2 competitors in each, but we can happily take more in each of those categories of the Tall Tales, which will not go past the District 65 because that was within District 65, but then international as well. And it will be hybrid. So folks can speak in person or on Zoom, but then the next level will be Zoom. So you don't have to drive to Utica or somewhere. It's all available that way. Alrighty. So that's next week.
Thank you, Katie. Appreciate you updating us all on that. So
Phil, does Phil have something to say? I saw you wave it a bit. Yes, Phil.
Yes, thank you. I have to say this. Toastmasters has done Kate Orr well. I saw her on television with her new job. So should be to go out and get some blood, which she is offering. What a great commercial. You did a great job, by the way, Kate.
Thank you. Was that from last time around Thanksgiving? Because I did it again this morning. I'm sorry I was kept away from everybody. It kept changing.
I was this morning.
Yeah, it was live this morning, 3
was it?
times. Yes, and then, so I'm sorry I couldn't, it was supposed to be Tuesday and then it was supposed to be Wednesday and everything just kept changing. So I'm sorry I couldn't alert you sooner. But yes, January is blood donation month because there's always a sharp decline in donations. And then it's only 8:15. All right, whatever. I'll give it in a speech someday. So come give blood. Thank you. And if you catch Spectrum today, I'll be on at the quarter hour, like 9:15, 10:15, 11:15 until noon. So it's a little 2-minute blurb on Spectrum News. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Gerald.
Shameless plug for you, Kate.
we have TV stars here. I knew you guys are all stars, but I didn't know how many TV stars we have now. So very cool, Kate. Congratulations with that. That doesn't happen every day. Speaking of that, we'll be trying to do a new limited series with the Lockport cable. We're going to explore that. So the officers talked about that. I'm going to reach out to them. I know we have a member who is connected and see if we can set something up coming here in the next quarter. All right. Well, you guys have a great day unless there's other announcements. And we look forward to the contest next week. So sign up for that. And we did have a person in house, just so you know, Kate, that is going to sign up for a couple things, and Jackie will be informed. All right, sounds good. Have a great day.